Thank you very much, Deacon Fowler. Happy Sabbath, everyone. Thank you very much to the persons who served us today from the Salvation Army, School of the Blind. Let us hear it for them again. We thank you for gracing us with your presence and blessing us with your talents. Quite a lot of things have happened throughout the week. I won't itemize them today as we are pressed for time. Today I want to talk to us something that is pertinent. I guess us as parents and grandparents can certainly try and pass on the general sentiment of today's message to our children. The topic that I want to talk to us about today is the secret of success. The secret of success. Now, in 2006, a book came out by Rhonda Bryan by the title of the book was The Secret. It was a follow-up to the law of attraction. The law of attraction was very popular. I know it was popular in this congregation maybe 2 decades or so ago. It caused quite a stir. And I remember one of our senior leaders who was completely taken up with it. In fact, so taken up with the successes, with the topic of success, that he felt that he had outgrown what the church had to offer, and he needed to move on to achieve true success, even more success. I haven't heard about the more success yet, but it's never too late. We will see. But the book, The Secret, was basically teaching everyone that through human thoughts and energy, if you apply certain laws, then the laws of the universe will grant you success. And the problem is that some of us aren't prepared to receive that success. The steps included visualizing the success, being grateful for it, and receiving it when the opportunity comes. This will allow you to improve your health and your wealth, and your relationships will be better. Yeah, it was a huge success. 30 million copies of the book sold. It had practitioners from Oprah Winfrey and many other persons of prominence at the time. Of course, some people criticized it, saying it was merely just magic thinking or so on. But is it grounded in Scripture? Is it grounded? Because a lot of Christians bought into it. As I said, it was popular. Even in this congregation, many persons went through it. Well, Philippians 4 and verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things. As a matter of fact, that outside of John 3:16, that's perhaps the most popular quote from the Bible. It certainly is the most motivational quote from the Bible. I can do all things. Even people who are not particularly religious are always quoting it. A lot of athletes quote it, business leaders. So, can we do all things through Christ who strengthens me to achieve our goals? Can we apply that to really get better relationships, keep healthier, and improve our finances? Is this the key verse to all of that? We spoke in the opening about prophecy and so on. After all of the highfalutin things, are we missing the basic the basic rule to success. I mean, even some mornings when I get up and try to tackle the balloon here, it's one of my motivations. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I've been getting some success, I must say. I'm not there yet, but I think that gradually, things are shaping up, quote unquote. So, this is a very powerful text. And as a matter of fact, I sometimes inundate you with text. Well, today, that's not going to be the case. I will not inundate you with text today. I'm going to take a different approach. Today, we'll be having the golden text. And we'll be dissecting that golden text. What does it truly mean? Do we properly understand it? And how to apply it? Well, first of all, was Paul giving us the keys to achieving our most cherished ambitions? Was Paul supplying the key? Should it be a case of acknowledge Christ in all you're doing and press on to it? And if you do, you will achieve your goals. I remember the said practitioner that I alluded to. I remember him saying once that if you pray in faith and fervor and pray without ceasing, God will grant your request. He's obligated to do it. At the time, it kind of shocked me because he said it from the pulpit. At the time, it kind of shocked me. God is obligated to grant you if you are diligent in seeking out your desires. Once you apply yourself fully, and once you have faith in Christ, He will see you through and you will get the success that you want. You will get the promotion. Your marriage will be sound. Your finances will improve greatly. But I ask you this. What if after all of that you don't receive the answer you're asking for? What if after all of that you do not, just a few weeks ago we were constantly in prayer for Nadia Whitaker. I believe that we were fervent. We really wanted it. Yet the outcome that we desired, we did not get. So what then of this text? It was not a lack of faith. It was not a lack of being fervent. We prayed around the clock. Not just us here, but people even abroad that heard our requests online. So, what happened? What happened? You see, I remember, I'm trying to remember this famous black physicist. His name just slips me, I guess old age is upon me. He said he would believe Christianity if he could prove the efficacy of prayer. Yeah. He said it's very simple. Just prove to me that once you pray for it, you get it. And if you do that, the argument finish. How are we to understand? I put it to you that our common understanding of this text is completely flawed. We think that Paul is saying that if you are diligent and fervent in your career goals and put everything, submitted to Christ in faith, that you will be successful. That's not true. I believe that we have totally misunderstood what this text is saying. And in order to understand it in its proper context, we need some background. First of all, where was Paul writing this letter from? Paul was writing from prison. And if you think GP bad, it's not that kind of prison. No human rights organization never about them time there. Or them kind of prison there. Water do anything. You can't come and see them and say you're Black Road and you want justice. It's a different kind of prison. Paul is not writing from his quiet study. Keep the children quiet, I'm doing something here. No, that was not where he was. He was writing to, I think, one of the first churches that he had established. This was one of his early missions, and he was locked up in prison. But here's the thing. Under all of that, here is Paul's response. If you read through Philippians 4. He was saying he was not in despair, not only that, but that he was feeling a joy. How could he be in that circumstance? Imagine, here is Paul going out to do God's work, and he's praying fervently for the success of the mission. And no sooner him go through Macedonia and come through, then him get locked up in a prison. In a terrible prison. What kind of success is that? What kind of success? That's the background to him writing this text, this particular verse. Well, he seems to give some kind of clue. He says that he's contented. So he says that in the midst of what is going on, he's joyous and he's contented. He has learned to be content in whatever state he found himself. So maybe that is his victory. He said from verse 11, not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound in any and every circumstance. I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger and abundance and need. So maybe contentment then is the secret. First thing we need to realize, this text is not about your personal ambitions. What Paul is talking about here is not fulfilling your personal ambitions. This is not about success in exams. This is not about a successful interview. That's not what he's writing about. Being content is good. But being content is not enough. Because being content doesn't necessarily mean that you are victorious in what you want to achieve. You can be content and the mission that you set out to achieve was unsuccessful. So you are not victorious. You see, for most of us as Christians, it's not the personal struggles, the day-to-day struggles that we go through that are the biggest challenge for us now. for a lot of us Christians who might not want to admit it and play mental gymnastics. But one of the biggest struggles for us is unanswered prayer. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Unanswered prayer is one of the big letdowns, but we find ways to go around it and explain it away, and it's not really the will of God and so on. So Paul is not talking about any career goals right here. This is something deeper. What he is saying, first thing he's saying, is that I can endure any condition because Christ sustains me. That's the first thing he's saying about. That's the first thing he's addressing. Any condition that I face, I can go through it successfully because Christ is sustaining me. That's the first point. Right? So it is not about your success. I imagine that a vast majority of players at the World Cup right now have that text in their room. Right? I know both teams come together and both of them pray sometimes to the same God. Right? First of all, let us look at what the definition of success is. Success is, it is contingent, but generally, success is the accomplishment of an intended goal or the favorable outcome of a planned endeavor. Success, my friends, I would put it to you, is determined by what your goals are. Right? But what your goals are. But we have not yet, although we have made a breakthrough with contentment, we still don't really unpack everything as yet. First of all, let us look at this word contentment. The word that is commonly used, I believe it is pronounced autarky. It's a Greek word. It means self-satisfaction. Self-satisfaction. But the thing about this self-satisfaction is Paul borrowed that particular wording because it was popular among people who are familiar with the Stoics. So the word that he used for contentment there is a word that was popular among the Stoics. Now that word implies a self-contentment. You have mastered your emotions to the extent that you can sustain yourself. But Paul wasn't a Stoic. And he was not into the genre that we now know as self-help. Paul, as a Christian, would have been teaching more reliance on Christ. But he uses this term. And the strength to be strong, the word that he used for strength as well, is also a word that would suggest self-sustenance. The word Ishua. And all things. What he did in putting this together was put a number of phrases together that had meaning that this audience would have understood. It has meaning. Now, he goes into the key word, which is secret. Now, the word that he uses for secret is the word that the Stoics and other secret societies used for their initiation. It's an initiation. So, to be successful, you need to be initiated. It is not something that you read about. It is something that you have to be initiated in. But what is this initiation? Let's look about it. I put it to you that this initiation can only be achieved as when Paul realized what had happened to him at the beginning of his mission, which is total submission to God. Total submission to God. Joseph experienced this when he was in the pit. He only learned it when he had gone through that experience. Several other Old Testament prophets also went through a period, including Moses and David. They had to learn. Go through the Psalms. Go through the Psalms and see for yourself David's experience. When he was on the run, when Paul was trying to kill him, and then Absalom, Saul wanted to kill him. And when Absalom rebelled, and sometimes he found himself lonely and in caves, running, trying to escape. It was through those experiences that he learned total submission and self-sufficiency on God. So rather than a text to say that, listen, you can achieve all things and stop there, because most people, that's where they stop, you know. I can achieve all things. No, it's not that at all. That's not it. The key was that you had to go through, and then when you're going through, you have to learn that you can sustain yourself. So I put it to you that you can only be initiated through this. I said something radical. You can only be initiated through this, not through answered prayer, but through unanswered prayer. Obedience through unanswered prayer is a secret to real spiritual success. It's a different level. You see, when you pray and get what you ask for, you know, how many lessons you really learn? How many lessons you really learn? Let me carry you through a classic case. The best example. Jesus Christ in Gethsemane. He had a different will from his Father. He had a different will from his Father. He said, if it's possible, let's go to it. Luke 22, verse 40. Luke 22, verse 40. I'll keep this short because I want you to grasp as much of it as possible. Right? Luke 22, verse 40. When he was at the place, he said to them, pray that you don't enter into temptation. He was withdrawn from them about a stone's throw. And he knelt down and prayed, saying, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. An angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. Being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Him still ask. This is a prayer, you know. Most of us might not remember, you know. It's actually a prayer. He will send up prayers to God in his agony. But being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. His sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. He didn't lack fervency. He did not lack fervency in going to God. When he rose up from his prayer, he came to his disciples and found them sleeping because of grief. Brethren, Christ prayed to the Father earnestly to save him very life, and the Father rejected the request. But we feel that way when we don't get the desires of our heart to ask for a job or ask for something. The most precious thing to us would be the life of a family member or so. God rejected that request for his own begotten Son. He rejected it. What more fervency and greater need you have to pray to God than to preserve the life of your only begotten Son? Yet, it was rejected. Here's a summary in Hebrews 5:7-9. He, in the days of his flesh, having offered up prayers and petitions with strong crying and tears to him who was able to save him from death, and having been heard for his godly fear, though he was a son, yet learned obedience by the things which he suffered. Having been made perfect, he became to all of those who obey him the author of eternal salvation. It was in him being rejected that he learned obedience. When Paul said he found the secret, he was alluding to the fact that he learned that when you don't get your desires, that's when Christ can sustain you. And that is your ultimate greatest strength. Different direction may I carry now today. Can we handle unanswered prayer? Some people get demotivated, lose them faith. You don't understand the purpose of your life. What this character building path is about. That's why when the glory, people say, oh, I'm not seeing a miracle, I'm not seeing and all that. You don't understand the path that you're on. And why? Why? Why is obedience and submission so important to God? You remember Satan was a rebel who rebelled when he didn't get what he wanted. If Christ is to welcome into his family new members, he wants people who can take rejection. Can you take rejection? Can you handle rejection? It doesn't mean that you're not going to be affected. So don't get hung up just on contentment. Contentment is not enough. That's just a starting point. And we have taken on a radical walk, you know. I don't think we'll begin to understand, you know. Sabbath keeping and so is not enough, you know. It's a radical walk we take on, you know. This is why health and wealth and those teachings are so dangerous. And why you must insulate yourself from it. It is not according to God's purpose. When you go through your suffering, you must know that God has treated you as sons. You need to understand the things that you go through. Don't feel that those who are financially better off and have stable and loving family and you lonely or your marriage bad. Don't feel like them any more blessed than you. You need to redefine what that true blessing is. And it's a different level. What did the DJ brother they say? What his name? Mother Andrew, about Father, forgive me. Me not complain. But sometimes the things I'm stressing to the brain. When things get rough and things get harder, sometimes we have to ask, what is Father? What is Father? Job and his friends never understood this principle. They never understood this principle. The importance of enduring discipline. The real secret to success, is being able to be submissive no matter what. From thus saith the Lord, you're willing to submit. When you reach there, sir, then you're successful. Now, I'm going to watch Elon Musk born a trillion. No grudge them, man, there. Him not begin to be successful yet. As a matter of fact, I put it to you that this kind of $1 trillion obsession is a mark of insecurity and weakness. Yeah, man, the eye can't see enough. I put you as a sign of weakness, spiritual weakness. You can't stop and make your life more meaningful. So when next you look at that text, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You look at it through a different prism. This is not about losing the gut or getting a promotion. That's not why Paul wrote that text. That's not why he wrote it. I mean, if you want to use it for that, but don't feel ultimately fulfilled that you're living you're living that text. One of the things that impressed me about Islam is that concept that they have of submission. They have that over Christians. They have a concept of Islam meaning submission. In the West, in our self-centered, we have a culture in the West of individualism. Me, what I want. That's in total contradiction to submission to God. Because the things that I want might not be what God intends for me. So you pray for what God intends for you. Because what I intend for you might be painful, You want to say that prayer? But when I met up on this and I started to think about it and go through it, the amount of implications that I saw, I have to start wondering. Sometimes I say, we shouldn't even tell you. Maybe I shouldn't even tell you. Because this is about welcoming the problems that I got through, And I rejoice. Rejoicing when you deal with them. This is a different level. So, when Brother Whitaker came up at Pentecost and said, now allow Satan to rob him of his joy, we have a fulfillment right in our. We don't need no greater testimony than that. That better than any healing, anything. When you reach a point where you say, no matter what the test, Satan can't steal my joy. Then you reach a point of success. Some of us have long-term challenges. Loved ones that are sick and can't help themselves. Our own illness. Long-term unemployment. And we pray for a breakthrough, pray for a breakthrough. We see others get breakthrough, we don't get any. So we feel like a failure. Our question, God. All of this comes back to something that I will present on another occasion, so you can stay tuned for that one. When Satan in the garden questioned God, the implications of that. This is what this is about, you know. You go question God, are that him really mean? Are that supposed to happen? History, human history, is about that preposition that Satan put. And it comes back to this. Is that what God really meant? Is this what God wants for you and I? Are we supposed to come, sing some song, pray fervently, and if we're strong enough, then we will get it? Or we have to go do mental gymnastics? Approach the throne of God soberly, knowing that in all things it is God's will, not your will. It doesn't matter what your circumstance is. Our mission, our personal mission, is to learn to be submissive. That's our personal mission. And I put it to you that we can never be truly successful until we learn the secret to true success, which is total submission and dependence on Christ. Shalom.